I stood outside my sister's house with a casserole dish I hadn't remembered packing. The funeral had been 3 days earlier. I was still reaching for my husband's side of the bed every morning before remembering it was empty. When my mother insisted I attend my nephew's first birthday, she called it something happy for the family. I almost stayed home. Inside, balloons floated against the ceiling while children laughed in the backyard. People hugged me with the careful gentleness reserved for fresh grief, then drifted back to conversations about work, vacations, and cake flavors. It surprised me how quickly ordinary life returned for everyone else. My sister, Lauren, barely mentioned my husband. She thanked me for coming, smiled for photographs, and moved through the room like she was hosting the most important event of her life. After everyone gathered around the birthday cake, she tapped a glass with a spoon. I actually have another announcement. The room quieted. She lifted her son onto her hip. This little boy isn't just my son. She looked directly at me. He's Daniel's son, too. For a moment, I thought grief had made me misunderstand the words. Then she continued, which means, as his child, he's entitled to part of Daniel's estate. I'll be taking half of your house. Several people turned toward me instead of her. Someone whispered my name. Lauren reached into a folder and unfolded a document. I even have his will. She held it where everyone could see the signature. I think Daniel wanted the right thing done. No one spoke. I stared at the paper, then I looked at her. Oh, I said quietly. I see. I pressed my lips together because a laugh was trying to escape. Not because anything was funny, because the entire performance rested on one impossible assumption: Daniel couldn't have written that will. My husband had rewritten his estate documents 2 years before he died. I knew because I had been sitting beside him in the attorney's office. More importantly, Daniel had undergone aggressive treatment that affected the use of his dominant hand during that same period. After surgery, his signature changed permanently. We practiced it together while he relearned everyday tasks. The signature on Lauren's paper was the one he had used years earlier. She had copied an old version. Lauren mistook my silence for defeat. I didn't want this to become legal, she said. But if necessary. It already is, I replied. I stepped away from the crowd and took out my phone. The attorney answered almost immediately. When I explained what had happened, he asked only one question. Is she presenting a different will? Yes. Put me on speaker. I returned to the room. My attorney would like to say something. Lauren folded her arms confidently. The attorney introduced himself and spoke with the calm tone of someone explaining facts instead of arguing. The authentic will was executed in my office, witnessed according to state requirements, and filed with the probate court before Mr. Harris passed away. Any conflicting document would require verification, including witness testimony, execution records, and forensic examination. Silence settled over the room. He continued. Based on the description I've just received, I strongly advise that document be preserved exactly as it is and submitted to the court if its authenticity is being claimed. Lauren's confidence disappeared so gradually that it almost looked like exhaustion. No one accused her. No one shouted. My uncle quietly lowered the paper she had been waving. My mother looked from me to Lauren, as though trying to understand how certainty had dissolved into doubt within a few sentences. The attorney ended the call after asking me to bring the document to his office if it was voluntarily surrendered. Lauren didn't hand it over. She simply folded it back into the folder. The birthday party continued in the awkward way gatherings sometimes do after something irreversible has happened. Parents gathered their children. Conversations became whispers. People left earlier than planned. I picked up my untouched casserole dish. Outside, the evening air felt strangely peaceful. I still missed my husband with an ache that no legal document could touch. Nothing about that day gave him back. Nothing erased the funeral or the empty house waiting for me. But grief had almost been turned into someone else's opportunity. It wasn't anger that carried me to my car. It was relief. For the first time since Daniel died, I realized that protecting the life we built together wasn't an act of revenge. It was simply the last promise I could still keep.